today is potluck day. As I said last week, I was just going to pick a book from my Kindle that I've read and enjoyed and do a little review. So I've picked my random book, and my random book is The Death House by Sarah Pinborough. This book is set in a near future on an island where children have been sent because they possess a defective gene. Whatever this defective gene is, they have to be taken away for the safety of everyone else, which kind of means that their life is a little bit cruel and unusual, because then we find out from our main character Toby that the defective gene is discovered through a blood test, and if you have this defective gene, you are literally taken away straight away. There's a high possibility that these children are going to develop the actual condition that it means that they have. They're going to develop it, and they're going to get ill, and they're going to be taken away and probably die. None of these children actually know what it is that they've got, which seems to me to be an extra cruelty, or maybe it's a kindness. We're sort of given the notion that maybe it's a kindness, but these being kids, their imaginations are going off the chain as to what it actually is that's going to be happening to them once they get sick, because all they see are the first sort of symptoms of it that differ from person to person. But it's obvious when kids get sick with this. This whole book is quite emotive. As Toby, our protagonist, he's become quite bitter and withdrawn. He's not taking his nighttime meds. He's staying awake at night to try and get some time to himself, because he's struggling a lot with this reality of his. They're all trying to tough it out, but realistically they're all just kids, and it's frightening, and they're away from family, and all they have is each other. And kids in close quarters tend to make these very difficult environments for each other, because they're just going to be kids. So some will get on and some won't, and they'll divide off into factions as they have, and there'll be squabbles and petty arguments and all this kind of stuff, and it makes for very uncomfortable living. And that's all these kids have got. They've only got each other and this remote staff and the certainty of dying, and it's all very upsetting. And then this girl arrives, Clara, and Clara changes everything. New kids that come in are very often very scared or very withdrawn, dealing with their own issues about being taken away from their family and finding out that they've got this defective gene. It's very hard for them. In comes Clara, and she seems like she doesn't have any of this stuff affecting her. She wants to do stuff and have fun, and she brings this infectious energy into the house. And she's a girl of a similar age to the older boys in the house, like Toby, and starts off quite the romantic rivalry between them all. I suppose it's not giving too much away to say that she ends up with Toby, because he's our protagonist. But what it does to him, what this relationship does to him and to her, is basically one of the axes that this book revolves around. They're just kids, and they're all struggling with growing up in the middle of this very, very strange and restrictive environment with this huge anvil hanging over their heads. And I thought the dynamics of that and the relationships between all these kids and the things that happen and the reverberations, the outcome and consequences are very beautifully handled in this book. It's heartbreaking, but it feels realistic. The only thing that I would say didn't work quite for me, although I understood it worked in the context of the story and characters, was the ending. I know a lot of people who've read this book really loved the ending. They thought it was super sad. I thought it was sad, for definite, very sad. But it didn't resonate with me emotionally in the way that I think it resonated with other people. I was sort of more annoyed, but I understood. So yeah, it's a really, really good book, beautifully written, and I would highly recommend reading it. And I'm going to do another potluck next week, because I'm still not feeling Moby Dick. I've read it before, and I think I enjoyed it a lot more then. I'm getting impatient with wordiness in books. I don't know why, but I'm getting really impatient with it. I will continue to plough through it, and at some point I will do my review on that. But in the meantime, I'm just going to crack on with the books that I've got in my list and with some more potluck. And I will see you next Friday with my next potluck from my Kindle to read list. It may be one that I decide to read between now and then, or it may be one that I've read this year, because I have read quite a few books between all the books that I've been reading for my reading challenge, which is great. That's what I should be doing. And maybe it will be fun to review some of those. So, see you next Friday. Bye.